by the truckload, we handcraft every mattress in our local factory. That means we custom fit a mattress for you, not the other way around. Stop in this month and pair any of our mattresses with an adjustable base and get up to $200 off. Burlo Mattress. We're not just building a better mattress, we're building a better night's sleep for less.
The Burlo Mismatch Sale is back. It's our biggest sale of the year. Mismatch on the outside, the same Burlo long-lasting craftsmanship on the inside. So hurry in now and save an additional 10% off every mattress and box spring. Wake up, sleep better. Burlo.
All right, head on over to WMAY.com where you can take today's daily poll. And the poll question... Let's get that refreshed. Man, I'm having some tech issues this morning. We're looking at Governor J.B. Pritzker's speech Wednesday, heard live on WMAY. How would you assess the state of Illinois? Excellent, good, fair, poor? You can choose. Most of you saying poor. Go vote at WMAY.com/poll or on the WMAY mobile app. While you're there, check out the contest page as well, where you can find out how to win tickets to the home show this weekend at the Bank of Springfield Center. Also, you can find out how to win $75 rebates for flights from Fly SPI. Again, WMAY.com.
Springfield's Morning News with Greg Bishop. Listen on demand at WMAY.com. 92.7 WMAY. Springfield's News and Talk.
We are back and live worldwide, not just here with WMAY on 92.7 WMAY. Springfield's News and Talk. I'm Greg Bishop, but back at it on YouTube Live, Facebook, Twitter, and after a few tech issues, I'm going to have to break everything down and give another rework here, self-producing all of this, as I do each and every weekday morning from 6 to 9. But let's get right into it here on WMAY, where we have every morning, we've been on the air going through some of the particulars of the challenges against Illinois' gun law and the ban that was in effect January 10th when Governor J.B. Pritzker enacted that ban. And you're looking at more than 170 different firearms that are listed that are considered, quote, assault weapons. And then you've got magazines of more than 10 rounds for rifles, more than 15 rounds for handguns. Those are banned. For people who have those, they can get a $1,000 fine, a petty offense per instance. But if you do not register your grandfathered semi-automatic rifles that are on this list by January 1st of 2024, you could face a up to Class 2 felony. Now, the window to start registering those weapons in Illinois with the Illinois State Police is October 1st, when they are going to launch the portal for people to register their firearms, and in particular the serial numbers that are on those firearms. So you've got that in effect. It's been now, a month and almost a week. So we're looking at approaching 5 weeks here of this weapons ban being in place, and the lawsuits stacking up. You got 4 lawsuits in state court. All 4 of them have temporary restraint of state from enforcing that, and that's impacting thousands of people. In federal courts, you've got 4 or 5 different cases, 4 of them in particular in the Southern District, where there are 3 where the judge in that case has ordered the state to provide a list of all of the items banned, not just the firearms, all of the items banned. So it'll be interesting to see when exactly they have to provide that response. There's 3 dates with 3 different lawsuits. One's like 28th of February. Another one's like March 1st, and the other one's March 2nd. They might consolidate that to have one unified response from the state for all 3 of those cases. But there's a 4th case out there as well from the Federal Firearms Licensees of Illinois that is dealing just with the gun ban, not with the magazine ban. But the National Shooting Sports Foundation, they have one of the 3 cases that the state is set to respond to with that list of items. I connected with Mark Oliva. He is with the National Shooting Sports Foundation, and he shared with us some of the kind of overview and the status of where we're at in the conversation of that lawsuit and why they're pursuing this.
So NSSF's case challenging Illinois' gun ban law is still sitting before the federal judge. We expect him to be taking action on that in a couple of weeks. We are, of course, challenging the law as unconstitutional and requesting a preliminary injunction to stay the law in its entirety. We understand that there are other challenges to this law that have been caused for this to be stayed against certain the parties that were challenging it, but it has not been applied statewide. So we continue to seek an injunction that will provide relief to all residents of Illinois and all businesses of Illinois that are being affected by this unconstitutional law.
So when I chatted with Mark yesterday, we delved a little bit further into some of the members he has, some of the gun store members that he has, and how they're being impacted by all of this.
So this law went into effect immediately, and it immediately affected the ability for those businesses to be able to sell the most popular selling centerfire rifle in America today. The AR-15, or the modern sporting rifle style rifle, is the most popular selling rifle in America today. It is. There are over 24.4 million of these rifles in circulation today. And to kind of put that into perspective, there are more of these rifles in circulation than there are Ford F-150s on the road today. So when we talk about the popularity of this rifle, it is not just the most popular rifle. It is an ubiquitous rifle. It is out there, commonly owned, commonly used, and by the definitions according to Heller and the Bruin decision, that certainly qualifies for constitutional protection for the right to keep and bear this rifle. By the governor signing this into law, he has restricted the ability. He has essentially stripped the ability of lawful firearm retailers in the state to be able to provide this rifle and the magazines that go along with it to Illinois residents who would otherwise qualify to legally possess this rifle. So it is certainly impacting the ability for those businesses to be able to service their customers.
So again, hearing from Mark Oliva, he is with the National Shooting Sports Foundation, one of several plaintiffs in one of 4 federal cases in the Southern District of Illinois, and hearing how exactly the law that bans these commonly held rifles, he says, are impacting not just individuals, but also businesses, and who exactly are these businesses that are being impacted?
As far as those retailers? Yeah, so these are retailers. You got to say most of the retailers that are selling firearms today are your mom and pop shops. These are the people who live and work in these communities, have deep family roots in these communities, and they want to be able to continue to operate their lawful businesses in these communities. They follow all the regulations, both set by the federal government and the onerous regulations that have been layered on top of them by the state to be able to operate their businesses. And so these are people who live and work in these communities. They go to the same churches as everyone else. They have their children attend the same schools. They are the fabric of these communities. So to see that they are being tarnished and labeled with a very broad brush as purveyors of something that is illegal is disheartening and is frustrating to many of these businesses. But this is why we as the trade association are standing up and saying that these are, in fact, lawful and constitutionally protected firearms that are used for lawful reasons and purposes every day, to include hunting, recreational target shooting, and, yes, self-defense.
So again, Mark Oliva with National Shooting Sports Foundation, and he also talked about some of the activity in the courts thus far, where they've had their lawsuit. They filed for an injunction, and the state has requested in a different lawsuit an extension for a response. But it looks like the federal judge in that case has said that the state, they are ordered to provide a list of all items banned, and that's significant. Mark sharing some thoughts about that.
Yeah, so I think, and if you read through our challenge on this and their request for preliminary injunction, this is pretty cut and dry case of unconstitutional law that has been passed in the state. If you look at the definitions of Heller and you look at the definitions of Bruin of what is protected, and those firearms that are in common use, they're commonly owned, are protected by the Constitution for lawful citizens to be able to keep and bear those arms. I think when judge is taking a sober look at this law and a sober look at the instructions that have been passed down by the Supreme Court, especially in the Bruin decision, that said that the two-step interest-bearing test that many of the courts have been using prior to Bruin were unconstitutional. That there's, specifically in the Bruin decision, they said there was two steps. That two-step test was one step too many. That the only test for whether or not a law is constitutional regarding guns is the Second Amendment. So that is the test. So when they start looking at this and they start asking the government to list out the types of firearms that they are saying it must be banned under this state law, it tells me that the courts are looking at this with a sober eye and saying that, if these are firearms that are in common use and commonly owned, then those are protected by the Constitution. That is the crux of the challenge that NSSF is also bringing in our case and seeking relief, is that these are firearms that are commonly owned, commonly used, and they are protected by the Constitution. So I think that this law, and I've said this to many others since it was signed into law, is on very shaky legal ground. And I think it is ripe for challenge.
So we'll see where the challenge ultimately goes, but it might be sometime in April when we see the judge actually decide on the fate of an injunction that plaintiffs in all of these cases are looking for. Not just the NSSF case, but the State Rifle Association case, also the Federal Firearms Licensees of Illinois case, also the plaintiffs in the Crawford County case that was transferred from state court to federal court, as well as eventually with the state level cases where there's a temporary restraining order in place for thousands of plaintiffs being safe from enforcement of Illinois' gun ban. So again, some of the latest analysis from the individuals suing the state, and we'll be watching closely as to all of the movement in those cases and more. It is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk. Thanks for hanging out, guys. It's now 6:32, and we got to take a break for news. Let's get those headlines.
92.7 WMAY.
Here are the three big things you need to know.
I'm Don Howard. Our top story, the devastating earthquake 10 days ago in Turkey has revived the debate about a large nuclear power station being built on Turkey's southern Mediterranean coast. The plant's site, some 210 miles to the west of the epicenter of the February 6th quake, is designed to endure powerful tremors and did not sustain any damage from the 7.8 magnitude earthquake and aftershocks. But the size of the quake, the deadliest in Turkey's modern history, sharpened existing concerns about the facility being built on the edge of a major fault line. A Springfield teenager has been found guilty on all counts in the stabbing death of a student outside Linefair High School in 2021. Kamaya Bias was convicted on all counts in a bench trial before a Sangamon County judge, where she was tried as an adult in the attack that killed 18-year-old Pierre Scott, Jr., and wounded another teen. Bias was 15 at the time of the incident and could face 27 to 90 years behind bars when she is sentenced April 19th. Springfield police say it appears the death of a 3-year-old boy last week was an accident, although their investigation continues. Coroner Jim Allman says Zane Xavier Watson died of blunt force injury to his chest shortly after he was transported to HSHS St. John's Hospital from a home on Anchor Road on February 6th. A Springfield police spokesperson says the death is not being investigated as a homicide, but offered no additional information on how the injury may have been inflicted or on the circumstances leading to the boy's death. Governor J.B. Pritzker says Illinois has paid off its short and medium-term financial obligations, freeing up money for major expansions in early childhood education and other programs. In the budget address heard live on WMAY yesterday, Pritzker called for creating 5,000 new slots for pre-K education this year and funding to raise child care salaries and boost early childhood interventions. Pritzker's proposal also increases funding for K-12 education and mental health services and steers more funding towards the state's unfunded pension liability. Labor groups are applauding Pritzker's